Thank you so much. I had Madison Digital, which is one of the largest media agencies, been there for about in this industry for more than a couple of decades. That's a quick introduction about myself. And before I move on to the topic, performance marketing, what makes it a click? Let me just introduce my panel members to you. Today we have Prachi Mohapatra, CMO Future Group, a business-oriented woman and a marketeer with more than 16 years of experience across digital, beauty, personal care, and fashion industry. So welcome on board, Prachi. Our second panelist is Sonia Singh, Director Growth Strategy of Collectcent Digital Media. Sonia is co-founder of Collectcent and consistently ensures that the company's sustainability growth curves in the last 7 years. Over 13 years of experience in advertising and branding, she combined with the thought leadership, expertise in driving revenues and performance marketing. So welcome aboard, Sonia. And
Thank you,
lastly, we
Vishal.
have Manish. Uh, Manish is the co-founder of a boutique agency called as Digi Osmosis. Digi Osmosis offers various services from creative content, social media, performance marketing. Manish has won more than about 30 awards in digital entertainment and sports category, apart from being a part of 50 most influential digital professionals in the country. So I guess today we have the best marketing minds speaking, one from business leadership and a retail category. We have a performance agency head who deals a lot with data, machine learning, AI. There's a lot to learn from them. And then lastly, a head of a boutique agency who sort of offers everything to the clients. So welcome aboard and great to see you guys over here. So let me, before I move on to any of the questions, let me just set a bit of context, right? So as the internet has become an integral part of our daily lives, and considering that virtual shopping, gaming, entertainment is all at the fingertip, performance marketing has proven to be imperative for the brands. It isn't just a sample diet for marketeers, but it's become inevitable. I mean, that's precisely how the industry has moved, and we hear it from this panelist whether if that's the real direction or is there some other direction that performance marketing is really taking. However, in the past few months, the outbreak of COVID-19 has impacted our lives, and multiple businesses across the world have gone through the unprecedented ways. Marketing spends of many activities, whether it's traditional or digital, have either been slowed down or paused, or may have been on a slow burn, including some of the digital activities. But companies, those who are able to leverage the industry change that have taken the place during this COVID-19, have already shown some signs of long-term and growth and sustainability. Now let's understand the performance marketing role. Is it just strategic? Is it essential? Is it ensuring the long-term business health? So let's find out what makes a click. In today's discussion, we're going to explore the factors that have added to performance marketing arena. So I think hopefully in next half an hour, we'll have the jury out whether what's the direction that performance marketing is really getting into. So let me start with my first question. And the typical marketer would tend to think that there is a branding activity and then there is a performance activity, and I have my budgets largely for my branding, which primarily is being taken by televisions and prints and all the other mediums. And then there's a hard-working bottom of the funnel marketing, which is more into optimization. Do these two activities really live in silos, or do they really have a synergy, right? I mean, that's something that we've all been seeing marketeers have the digital marketing specialist and the branding specialist in two different corners. But is there some sort of a marriage that's happening in, or is it still a silo? Let's also figure out whether is performance marketing, does it really complement the brand activity or the branding promotion that is being done? And that's the context that I want to set my first question with. And I'd love Prachi, if you can just come in and give me your perspective and your point of view of how do you see. You've been a retail marketer. You do spend a lot of money on your traditional as well as digital marketing, and ideally you get all those walk-ins into your stores for your fashion stores. So how do you see branding and performance going? Is it hand in glove? Is it still a different one, and you try to marry them, or how does it work for you?
Thank you, Vishal, for bringing this question to the fore. In fact, a lot of us get asked about this, that whether branding and market performance has been in separate silos. Well, to start with, I think marketing had never performed in a silo without a business objective attached to it. I think it has always been there. What this entire situation has done, in fact, it has been there in the past 3-4 years, more so when we are putting impetus on performance marketing. What this entire situation has done is to see results far more in black and white. We have always created a full funnel strategy as to give the entire impetus to the upper funnel right down to the lower funnel. For me, as a brand which definitely runs on a brick and mortar space, it's imperative to have those walk-ins. We can't do sans walk-ins, and we have always worked on a basis of offline to online to offline flow of customers. What this situation has done, of course, the second part of the process has definitely been stopped, but it has always been looked as a complete full funnel strategy. So of course, there are campaigns which reach out to attracting the upper funnel only, and there are campaigns which completely is focused on the lower part of the funnel. But this entire situation, what it has done is it has actually put the entire focus into how marketing spends are being watched, right from brand building to conversions, and it has never operated in silos, and it will never operate in silo furthermore as well.
Fantastic. I think that's a brilliant view. And what typically happens in most of the marketing organizations is you have a separate performance agency, and then you have your typical digital agency, right? And then your typical traditional agency, which does whole lot of your top of the line funnel. And then the performance agency speaks to the performing guys, the mark brand guys, and there's some bit of a confusion that keeps getting in. But I want to move to you, Sonia. You've been driving a performance agency, and you sort of really optimize the conversions, the leads, the acquisition. Who do you talk to? Do you really get into the CMO's play? I mean, do you have a view of the CMO or a vision of a CMO? And is that married over there on top by him, or is there a digital marketer who comes in and then he tries to stitch things for him?
Of course, Vishal, because while we are driving and working very closely with these brands, it's very important that we are talking to the decision makers. And I'm sure, like you were asking if they live in silo. I'm sure many organizations have their own reasons for overlooking the fact that branding is a game changer and performance is a game maker. We have come long way seeing brand and performance marketing have coexisted. I'm sure we all know that. And they have competed as well in the marketing budgets. Of late, what we are seeing is performance marketing has gained a lot of momentum, in fact. But in my opinion, brand and performance marketing are needed for effective marketing. And that is what is yielding a great result. I think it's also helpful here if we deliberate and choose a balance because when we are talking to the CEOs, they want it to be in line with every company's business strategy. And exactly like what Prachi was saying, right? I mean, it is about the business strategy and whether the marketing strategies are meeting the goals. As an ad tech company, while you're asking, we definitely witness this as a bigger scale because we deal with various business categories. Yeah. To give you an example for, say, OTT space, all the players that we see, we work a lot of branding activities around for the tentpole content that they release. But now what we're seeing is they also combine this with marketing strategies with very, very well defined, performance parameter, which helps them to meet the higher ROI. And we're seeing the results coming on for them. If you ask my perspective, to be very honest, performance complements the brand advertisements. And to point out, one of the greatest example right now is Ludo King, who's popular gaming, right? I mean, who would have actually imagined a TV
Yeah.
commercial? But their growth is reflecting the demand that they have in their hand right now. They are working significantly towards demand recognition. And the performance parameter is also very, very lean in driving their tangible growth. And we can all see that as well. For many organizations, I'm sure Prachi was also saying that the marketing budgets definitely go into boosting the brand presence. But what I have seen that eventually it all leads to driving a higher customer acquisition, right? Because branding, while it's driving the performance, the awareness, consideration, loyalty, it is also an air cover for the performance marketeers as a final goal of the organization as well. So sometimes I believe that brand and performance definitely kind of get into a budget pull, mainly because the long-term planning often conflicts with the immediate goal of the performance marketing. But performance marketing at the end undeniably adds value to the brand promotion. And I think we as industry leaders right now need to deliberate that whether we are not trying to hold everything in one go, but we are trying to build an enduring brand. And I'm sure Prachi will agree to this one.
Thank you, Sonia. That was quite insightful. I'm going to move to Manish. Manish, and I want a perspective on you've been into this business of entertainment, sports, music. Most of your clients are into those categories as well. There is a lot of branding that's required. You create a lot of content for them, and at the same time, you also make sure that there is a whole lot of performance, hardworking media, which is also delivered at the same time. Uh, what's your perspective? And post your perspective, I'd also like to know whether is this performance marketing limited largely to just smaller advertisers or smaller clients, or does it even get to large brands and some of the largest Fortune 500?
Uh, I think, as mostly Sonia was pointing, and in her own way, and Prachi pointed out, I think it's not even much of a discussion whether this is more important or that is more important. It's actually come to that status where balancing has become a factor. And yes, the balancing depends on the size, scale, and the genre of the brand or the product itself. Let's take the last question easy first, between the big and small. I would personally feel that it's more to do with new or old rather than big or small. If I were to put Nike is as big as an Amazon or a Flipkart or a Netflix, so both are giant brands. But if we are talking of newer brands like the Amazons and the Flipkarts, performance marketing is as important as the whole brand building exercise or a living in silos. And actually, if we see both these startups, when they started and they were limited budgets, the larger focus was on performance, because the game was first build the business, and then only if you survive, the whole brand equity building and the brand elements get built. Whereas there are challenges for brands like the Nikes of the world or the Apples of the world, where it exists in terms of balancing, because a lot of budget goes into performance, but a lot of budget is even going into brand building. So a just do it doesn't come with bias. On the other side, via a Flipkart or a Myntra, the same Nike or Apple are spending enough money in terms of acquisition and performance. Going slightly a step further, because we have somebody like Prachi also on the panel, and the brand is, or the business is of a very different retail nature. I feel, coming to the COVID scenario, where a lot of walk-ins also in a lot of businesses might not be in an extremely big mall or a shop, but a lot of it is going to become appointment based, because you can't expect or want thousands of your customer to walk in at one go. Again, performance in its deepest sense even leads to things like lead generation, to appointment based viewing or appointment based buying itself. So I think there again, performance starts playing an important role. However, if we take a smaller or a newer brand, just to put a perspective, I even founded an app called the SS Fitness app, which is the Shilpa Shetty, or it's popularly known as the Shilpa Shetty app. Now, a bootstrapped company like that, where on one side the download and subscription matters for its survival. However, it cannot exist in silo, because no one wants to download or use a product which does not have a brand equity. The entire communication, which is nothing but a complete part of brand building or the brand equity building exercise, becomes extremely important, where you can say innovation and communication starts playing an important role in that exact balance. Because as an agency, we come across a lot of newer brands who just want to hit performance marketing from an ROI or a sale perspective. But just as an example, a brand Manish suddenly saying buy XYZ product from Manish, no one is going to buy, because you don't have any authenticity to speak. And that's why the balance between brand building, or the equity as it used to be always called, is as important on digital as in the offline front.
Thank you, Manish. I think that is fairly well said with great examples. Setting a good point. I think the jury is really out, and clearly it comes out that performance marketing and branding is an hand in glove. It is married, and it is complementing each other. So I think we can't really live over it. And then I'm going to really move into my next question, which you really just touched upon. Which is like, has COVID really changed the trend? Right? As we heard earlier, saying that there's going to be some of the activities which got slowed down, paused. Suddenly there was a knee-jerk reaction coming in from marketeers. But have you guys, and I'm going to start with you, Manish, have you really seen a surge in performance spend with a surge in those consumers coming in? And maybe you could also want to touch upon, have really performance marketing benchmarks improved? I mean, compared to what you were delivering at a acquisition cost, has that got better? And I'd like even Sonia to chip into this question, because it's a little important for us as to what's going on in the last 3 months, and has it really become now important there? Yeah, Manish, you want to go first?
I think, yes, the buzz has surely gone up. I don't really know about the overall spends, but the buzz has surely gone up. Companies who were sitting with stock as well as something to sell that they could offer, performance marketing suddenly started taking a bigger role because there was no other option left, if I have to put it rather. Because a lot of budget which was parked for friends, for outdoors specifically, and to a large extent in the beginning, even for radio, suddenly got diverted to this because of the ROI based piece, or people wanted to sell. So as we were even discussing before the panel, in the early first few weeks, it was practically mayhem because no one knew where to go, how to go. But once the things settled down, a lot of brands started focusing, and especially once the online deliveries, etc., started, that's the time when performance marketing did pick up in an extremely big way. One. Second, as per us, yes, the ROIs or the costs have gone down because the whole consumption itself of digital media has grown so drastically in the last 1.5, 2 months, that because of an increased viewership or audience base, and because a lot of brands are still keeping away from it, or has kept away from it quite a while, because at the end of the day, all the platform might be available, but if your goods cannot reach the audience, you're not going to just go and do it for the sake of brand building or spend. So there are a lot of brands who have gone down in their spends, a lot of brands which have gone up. The audience has increased. As a reason, ROIs has surely been better, or the cost of acquisition has been lower. Like Sonia can be a much better person to comment on that.
Sonia, I'd like you to really answer this. One is obviously, with this COVID, whether performance marketing spends have gone up or no. But I think moreover, I want you to emphasize on the point, saying that what are the successes of the performance campaign? Have they really improved? Have whatever your the way you look at it, more from a click-through ratio or more from an acquisition cost or scale of acquisition, is that impacted in a big way?
Vishal, of course, I mean, sometimes we can all agree upon is not just the numbers, but this pandemic has actually taught each one of us so much at personal and professional level. And I think what Manish was also saying, in a perspective that there's a lot that has changed in behavioral pattern as well, including that of increase, the digital consumption. We think that in a perspective, for example, social distancing, while being the new norm, places a unique spotlight on our digital industry as well. With more society, society is leaning towards social distancing, more each one of us now depending on digital media consumption to keep us informed, working, learning, and entertained, right? And we have seen it changing drastically in terms of performance marketing for last 3 months. I'll give you some examples. Like, we see each brand is adapting differently to consumer needs and sentiments right now, and they're redefining their acquisition strategy. To give you an example, for India alone, we are all seeing e-commerce, travel, and food delivery promotions have actually taken a hit on in terms of their marketing budgets. But while that's happening, we're also seeing a huge surge in demand in other verticals like OTT, gaming, education, utility, and fitness. Manish being here, they have taken a center stage. Yeah. So, I mean, who would have imagined people actually taking out such larger amount of their life on a daily basis to log on an app and try to be healthy and use a fitness app. But that's happening now, and we are seeing the results as well. When you ask me about the advertisers' perspective, when we work and talk to them, we're seeing that the funnel has shortened. In fact, the cost of acquisition per user has also gone down. But what we see is they're also still ready to pay much higher in terms of the acquisition to get more engaging user. And when I'm saying engaging user, these are the users who actually log in, spend time, purchase, buy, or actually view or consume something on the app. So, the payouts have also gone higher. The change that has actually gotten into is also, very, very different from the country's regulation, the government regulation in different countries. We are globally there, so we saw this coming. Imagine from January, in fact, Feb was more effective. China got affected, Spain got affected, and then US. And the contrasting cultures in different geographies led to different uptake of different kind of businesses as well. To give you an example, for example, online delivery apps, right? In India, it took a setback. Why? Because simply Indians were better equipped to cook at home, right? And there are other countries with completely depending on dining out, and which was basically more huge experiential kind of thing for them, or the only way out to go about it. So in those countries, the companies still went about changing their strategies for user acquisition avenues. And to give you an example here, the food delivery apps like Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, all of them went up by 60% during this period. I have more examples I can share here. Shopping apps for that matter, Ship, Drizzly, Instacart, all of them went up. So what I believe is, I am actually seeing that everybody is adapting to the change of the business as per the required, but they're all rebooting their way in as well.
So you agree for the fact that the benchmarks have improved, your cost of acquisitions would have gone down, right? Yeah, thank you. That's
Yes.
exactly what I wanted to hear from you. Prachi, I want to move on to you with this change in the environment and marketing media mix really getting changed. Obviously, there's an impact. Some of the other mediums that you often use, like your outdoors and print and all of those, would have got impacted in this short 3 months time. But is your media mix change? Have you gone 100% digital? Have you gone 100% performance? Or how do you see it coming post COVID?
Well, I'd put two parts to it. How is it that we are interacting now, and what is it that we are planning at least immediately whenever we come out of COVID? I don't think that's the situation that's going to happen. I think it's a coexistence. As I was mentioning somewhere,
Sure.
new muscle memories will be formed. There is no life without this situation. It's something which will completely emerge as a new situation. So at this point of time, yes, absolutely. The ATL media has taken a hit. That goes without saying. And that's something that we definitely were extremely high as a brand. We had an extremely high visibility on those media. But at this point of time, yes, our focus is completely moved to the digital space, whether, as I said, whether it's for reach, for brand building, or for conversions. And that goes in hand with what we have created as a new business model also. 14 days into lockdown, we went live with shop@bigbazaar.com. Whatever bugs were there, we went live with the platform saying that, okay, let's just first serve the customers out there. Let's just make things available. And as Sonia was mentioning, there has been so many partners who came into fore, and together we actually could make the entire business model a little more smoother than what we had anticipated. Yes, the focus on having a voice on digital platform made far more sense. We are not a digital native brand. We are a brick and mortar brand. For us to be able to change from a brick and mortar and have a within a 14-day, 2 weeks time period, move into a completely new business model, and for us to be able to coexist. So for us, the stores became small warehouses. So this is how we have learned, and of course, it made sense for us to move the traffic from a brick and mortar because of various reasons. We didn't have permissions, there were no NOCs, difficulty in having staff moving into the stores. So it made far more sense for us to move the traffic to our platform and see conversions out there. So it was see, as I keep on mentioning, a business has to perform at the end of the day. Whatever we have to put a buck, it has to create the bang that it has to create. So at this point of time, yes, we have. Second, what I see post this entire situation improves to whatever extent it will improve. We've already started warming up to localized ATL. So you will see our outdoor hoardings coming into being. Of course, there are spaces wherein we are having partner difficulty in actually executing the entire space. But not having said that, I think we are coming back slowly and steadily to what we had seen would come back to ATL focus of the media. So yes, we definitely see that coming back, and I think most of us have started getting our newspaper prints back also. So these are spaces, I think, which we will see marketing voices coming back very strongly.
Fantastic, Prachi. In fact, one of our clients is also more into retail, and about 80% of his business used to come from the retail, which is offline physical media, as in physical stores, and just about 20% came on online. And suddenly now the ratios have been changing. And I kept asking him, and I'm going to ask you the same question, whether is this somewhere going to be more focus? Are you going to focus two channels 50-50, which is 50% of business coming in from digital and 50% of business coming in from your retail? Is the focus shifting, or would you just go back to what the earlier normal was?
I think we will go back to a very, very healthy balance. I think most of the retailers, we admire a lot of competitors we see out there. I think most of the retailer competition has done a fabulous job of coexisting, and I think we are absolutely on that path in which we are looking at a coexistence. Whether it is going to be 50-50 or 20-80, I don't have an answer at this point of time. At this point of time, it's highly skewed towards one part of the platform. So yes, but I'm sure this is going to coexist. As I keep on saying, we're all customers before we are marketers. So this is going to be true for all of us, how we are interacting with the brands we interact with, and that's going to stay true to our customers who walk into our stores as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate your answer. I'm going to move to Sonia. And Sonia, I just want you to give me a bit of a perspective on have your performance strategies really changed? You did mention saying that, benchmarks have changed. Is there something different and innovative that's really come into the play? Is it largely led by just the two giants, Google and Facebook, and their platforms, biddable platforms, or is there something else that you guys have tried innovating to get the performance leg out in a better way?
Vishal, for us, being 7 years in the industry, to be very honest, our strategies are always aligned with the advertisers' strategies. The requirements are very unique for every verticals that we work with, and not just on a monthly or yearly basis. The strategies have to change on a daily basis for us, depending on what are their goals for today. Are we meeting what they need? What kind of retention, what kind of engagement is happening on the acquisition that we get for them. So yes, we are seeing that the funnel is being redefined by the clients, and we are aligning ourselves not just in India but across the globe right now. To give you a few more examples to explain more deeply, Prachi was just explaining about the brick and mortar model. Brands like Domino's and Lifestyle, who are so hard coded as well on the brick and mortar model, have actually moved on apps as well and looking at driving their sales acquisition through the apps. So that is one of the very visible changes that we have seen. The fintech companies, for the matter, who are looking at getting users a few years back, even that people should try online transaction as recent as 2012, now have performance parameters for agency to drive their first transaction via their unique users, and that's happening. That's the goals that they're looking at. To give you an example of gaming vertical, the companies who were very happy with, say, thousands and lakhs of installs earlier, now emphasize and have moved their performance KPIs to registration and even gameplay. Yeah, we work very closely with a lot of key players in the OTT space as well. Few years ago, we saw a lot of their budgets were mainly focused on the brand building and launch of new content. I'm sure you must have all seen a lot of TVCs and banners around the branding campaigns. but now it's very highly performance centered and focused towards changing and increasing the proportion of the paid users. I'll give you one more example, which I'm sure everybody must be observing around the social and apps category. The key challenge these companies faced earlier was low engagement level, because people were very hesitant to go social, to share their life, to enact in front of a camera and share it with the world, right? But today we drive high performance matrices for the KPIs like user engagement, retention, the video view. There are a lot of KPIs the social apps category is seeing right now, because people are engaging on these apps. So the point I'm trying to drive home here is simple. Like, all this is indicating that performance marketers like us has perfectly adapted with evolved user acquisition strategies for the marketers to get higher ROIs for their businesses. Yeah, I mean, that's my view overall.
Vishal,
Got it, Sonia. Thank you. Really thank you. I want to, before I move to Manish, I want to still stop at you and ask you a little elaborated same question. When I said strategies, I meant, are you guys really moving away from just the duopoly that we live in? Or is your walled gardens only delivering all the acquisitions that you want?
Oh, like I said, right? I mean, it is very, very in aligned with the advertiser strategy. We are redefining, changing. Our buyings have changed over a period of time. We are also looking at a lot of targeting that is more relevant for the advertisers we are working for. For example, if there is an app, example would be a fitness app, right? I mean, we are looking at paid customers. We are looking at people who are more conscious about the fitness, people who would actually come to an app, download, and also work out with it, right? So there is a lot of strategy that gets into targeting an user who will be, engaging and a right audience for it. So yeah, definitely there is a lot of strategic change at an organizational level as well for us.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Manish. Over to you. Do you see certain formats playing a big role, because you work from a torso to tail, you work from head to uh, tail. I mean, you are into all the services from a branding to creative content to media and performance. Are there specific formats? Are there specific areas which are helping you really, come up with some better strategies for your clients?
so see, without a doubt, if I would just put numbers, because that's always something which puts things in perspective. If we see this entire COVID period, 70% of the entire data consumption on the internet has been skewed towards video consumption. So because you're speaking about format, I think that's the best example I would want to start with. So it would simply mean that when you're seeing that the entire consumer base or the nation at large is skewed towards consumption of video as a format, even performance marketing assets, as we would call, and a marketer would more call it as a creative piece, has to move more and more towards such kind of format, because at the end of the day, it's a marriage between where you are advertising or promoting your brand and what people are consuming, that they are extremely receptive to the entire piece. So yes, number one, the formats in which you are advertising play a very important role, and it's changing. For example, if you are trying to do a performance marketing around a gaming app or a gaming ecosystem, you know that the format that you will adapt will really make a huge difference in the ROI that you get out of the entire piece. Because whether it's a 2D animation or the kind of, so you are in an environment and you can't suddenly have like a creative which is from an alien world coming. So number one, that is playing an extremely important role when it comes to format. Second, adding to this entire piece in terms of the way it's being done or the measurability itself is in an evolution phase. For example, if at one point of time it was just about a lead generation or a download of an app, today it has already evolved where offline has started meeting online. So just to give a relevant example for Prachi, if my client is already sitting with an offline base of a couple of 100,000 or million, and I'm having their mobile number or an email ID or any kind of database, it's very easy for me to today take that physical database and start doing custom performance based pieces that can lead to ROI with existing base. So I'll not call it a true innovation, but this itself is a technological change which is happening. If I take our international client when it comes to entertainment, and pre-COVID, post-COVID, and during COVID, obviously, entertainment in terms of theaters don't exist. But if we talk of international distribution and marketing of movies, the way they want to measure our effectiveness and ROI is a question that the number of people who are watching a trailer of the movie internationally is being clearly getting correlated to the number of ticket sales which is happening via that audience base, because you're already sitting with an audience base who can be retargeted, who can go for a dynamic advertising campaign. So there's obviously basis platform and consumption and evolution which is happening every day, and the definition of KPIs of performance marketing is changing, and as it always happens for any newer format of marketing and advertising we get into.
Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate that perspective. I think we're sort of done with most of these things, and let me just call out for this jury. And by just summing it up, before I even move to all the questions that are coming in from the listeners, uh, you know, we really set the rules saying that performance really complements branding. It's a hand in glove. It really sort of works well when they both go together. We did speak about nitty-gritties about what are the strategies in performance marketing pre-post COVID, and how is it really impacting us in terms of users, spends, and the kind of benchmarks that are really getting delivered. So I think that was a really thoughtful and a great conversation that we've really gone through. And I personally would like to thank all of you guys. I think that was a fantastic contribution coming in from you. Now I'm going to just start moving into certain questions that are coming back from the listeners. And the first question is, the first one I'm going to give it to Prachi. The question reads like, considering the presence of established players in retail like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, JioMart, DMart, how would FBB look at differentiating itself and servicing customers better online, since the established players have already set a high benchmark? Do you want to go for that, Prachi? I think it's a quite personalized one for you.
Sure. The question is already established itself that definitely these are some of the partners who are some of the players who are doing extremely well in the online business, and we completely agree to that. There are two differentiators that we put out over there. On the product itself, which is extremely highly competitively priced for any brand that is performing at this point of time on any of the platforms. Second, I'll talk about the service part of it. Now, at this point of time, yes, are we new to the entire platform? No, fbbonline.in has been live since the past 4 years. Have we ever put enough impetus or importance on the platform as of till now? No, we hadn't. But at this point of time, what we are doing is we are gearing up to go to the next level. Yes, there has been a change in shift of gears or change or shift of gears, which we are looking at. And yes, of course, we are definitely looking at servicing customers better. As I said, we operate out of brick and mortar stores as well, which at any point of time serves as multiple warehouses for us. So, of course, do we have an edge over it or not? Only time will tell how we are going to be able to service better. But yes, operationally, we are on a very strong-footed place at this point of time. So yes, from that perspective, I think we will definitely go ahead and be able to service a customer far better. If you see at this point of time, also when we go on live at shop@bigbazaar.com on fashion, we promise within 24 hours delivery for fashion, which is a huge promise to make. I don't think any other brand promises you within in fashion within 24 hours delivery, but we have been able to service that customer within 24 hours in fashion. So that's point number one. I would consider ourselves a newbie in this space, but we have been able to achieve something that most of the other fashion brands have not been able to do. So yeah, that's just the beginning.
Thank you, Prachi. And I am assuming the listener, whoever's questioned this, would have really got his answer. Thank you. I'm moving on to the next question, and this one's for you, a direct one, Sonia. Don't you think in today's time of performance marketing, primarily every performance marketing campaign is generally run on either brand bidding or click injection? In the nutshell, cutting in brand's own sale as vendor sales. I really don't understand what this guy wants to get out of it, but what my sense is, it's click injection as a word. When you say that, it really refers to click frauds, or maybe it gets into that sort of a zone. So do you have a point of view on is there some sort of a a click fraud, click injection that's happening, and how do you really want to mitigate that?
Sure. You remember we were talking about this topic, and I said this topic in itself needs a complete session. And but still,
Totally.
I'd like to cover this. So see, fraud happens, like it happens on a, and it keeps evolving because while we are trying to put a fight, there is something else that's coming up as a new thing. I really think in terms of the performance marketing, right now there are multiple aspects and tools that has come up. I'll share a very broad perspective of it. The MMP platforms, yeah. A lot of new advertisers who really don't look at using MMP platform but go for Google, analytics. We still expect them and we request them to go on an MMP, and I would name them out here because we work very closely with them. AppsFlyer, Branch, Adjust, Singular. There are many. It is as advertisers need that they get into. What do these MMP platforms do is they further have their entire tech piece, which filters out a lot of fraud. Yeah, they have been built just for that reason. That's one. The second aspect is on a real time. When we are talking, somebody was talking, I mean, the question was about click injections. The performance marketing that I'm talking here right now has nothing to do with clicks because all the advertisers right now are looking at transaction, they're looking at engagement, they're looking at a gameplay, they're looking at a subscription. Yeah. A fraud can happen in a month, but the fraud will definitely reflect the numbers in your accounts book by say 3 months time or a 6 months time, right? And the kind of advertisers who really select a partner on a basis of these parameters, we've been working with them for 3 to 4 years, like they've been working with us. That's one of the aspects. So MMP platforms have made life easier. There are a lot of other tools and techniques that we use. To give you another, the second layer to this is I don't know about many companies, but as far as I know, 3 companies in India, PubMatic, InMovie, and Collectcent, of course, who are tag certified. Now, tag and IAB are the institute who develop a lot of anti-fraud techniques, processes, filter out fraud from the systems at a click itself. Yeah? And when you get certified by them, when you pledge to work with them, that means you're working very closely with them to fight this fraud. The third aspect is, of course, your own technology, how safe and secure it is to ensure a brand safety, because it is not a one-day business. It's a very long-term sustainable business we are all looking at building here. So there are, if you're good with technologies, like we don't really use a lot of white label solution. We have spent a lot of time last 3 or 4 years to build our own tech with optimizations layer as well as anti-fraud. So the clicks, the IP, the devices, the browser, and any level of search fraud, which is very basic in fact, because it's gone up from there, can be filtered out right at your platform level. Yeah, so I'm saying there's just not one mantra that works. There is a 360-degree view to fight this, fraud system.
Thank you, Sonia. I think you've really established the fact that it's not a black hole, and I could have very well answered that question to that whichever listener. But I just want to add to what he said that it is not a black hole, and today there are so many tools which Sonia just spoke about. I think those tools are modern enough to really catch whether it's a robotic traffic or a click fraud or whatever. So I think there's a way out, and technology is really helping out in a great way to come over this sort of issues that probably industry's really been raising about. And I have a nice, lovely question coming in from one of the user, and this touches upon the measurement. And I want to go first with Manish, you, and then I'd like Prachi to just step up and also give me your perspective on this. The question reads like measuring equity has been always complex. However, what metrics we must consider to measure the growth of the new startup across branding or performance activity? Fairly simple. I think Prachi can really give it a nice one to that. But I'd like Manish, you to come up first and give me your perspective of what's your thought on measurability when it comes to performance, and how do you really get into this equity building of the brands?
For me, actually, a complex question. It's very different to be custodian of the bigger brands when you're leading it as a CMO. But yeah, with a startup, when it comes to measurability of brand equity as well as building of brand equity, it is still for us easier on a B2B level, courtesy brands or platforms like LinkedIn, etc., and which is playing a very big role when it comes to brand equity building, performance for a B2B brand. However, when it comes to a consumer brand building, I think when it comes to the overall digital or the app ecosystem itself, there's not too much that is being done or that one can afford also. So when you talk of brand matrix and performances and measurability, and as like somebody who has been a marketer, I know that a lot of money goes in measuring that and the kind of technology and techniques which are used. However, when it comes to smaller brands and when you're running your own startup, it becomes extremely difficult because it's more to do with what will take more importance in the entire business. So if you'll truly ask me, I'll go slightly blank. If someone today asks me that the SS app by Shilpa, what is and are you measuring the brand equity? Frankly, no. I don't think like that when the choice comes between investing money on Sonia and her company vis-a-vis the measurability, we would still go to her side because right now it's more to do with survival and not much of the kits and technology as well as engines existing. What she was mentioning before this, for our front, a lot has happened on that front, but when it comes to a brand equity measurability as well as tracking, I think we are still at an extremely nascent stage or even below that, if I have to put it from my side.
Thank you. Thank you. Prachi, what's your perspective?
Well, I look at it from a perspective of, from a bigger business as well as a smaller business, or I would not refrain from using the word startup because I'm not a startup, but how we operate, it should be, it's a very different way to see it. Even if you're a large business, every region, every zone, every city, every town specifically serves, every store specifically serves as a SBU. And if the unit economic is not positive, then it just does not make any sense from any performance or any P&L basis that it's going to give us a positive performance. That's the maths part of it. Now coming to the beautiful part of it, which is the brand building aspect of it. How do I see personally as a brand building linked to the maths is if I have a satisfied customer A and if the customer is returning, then it makes a lot of sense for me to be able to judge that, okay, that this is a brand which is absolutely performing for this customer. And see the loyalty part of it. We have a huge first party data which we all work with, and we have a huge association with partners like Payback, who we actually work on a extremely one-on-one basis with. So these are the data which throws out a lot of information for us, that how is a customer cohort behaving? Are they coming back or not? What is the satisfaction matrices that these customers are throwing back at us? So these are some of the brand building data linked to the maths that we completely work on a daily basis. So these are the few matrices I believe builds up the brand and also puts the check on the performance part of it.
Yeah. So just adding to like the you can say traditional formats of the way we are measuring brand equity for newer companies, and especially the digital ecosystem, as I was mentioning, our own app itself. Yeah, there's a huge focus on how many organic downloads you get, how many repeat customer, using you on a daily basis return, how many of them are renewing their subscription, and above anything, the ratings and the review that you get on different stores, which are completely organic and very brand equity led, would be our own internal matrix. But as I said, yeah, there's no standard format existing that could really become an example.
Just to add up to what both you guys said, I'm just going to put one more add of layer to that is, yes, there are hard measures and soft measure. You have math and you have the mind on the other side, but there are more than enough tools in the market available. Nielsen comes out with the study. There are brand lift studies on every small campaign. There are There are studies coming from Millward Brown, and these are short studies. You really don't need to spend much for the startups as well, and you can really get those mind measures of the brand from the consumer's perspective. Can be done to whoever that person was. I'm assuming that listener would have been happy with all these answers coming in from all three of us. So anyway, on that note, really thank you very much, this lovely panel. I think it was really interesting talking to all of you. We've got a great perspective coming in from three different areas. We've got a performance specialist, we've got a CMO business person, and a person coming in from, both sides, who's been a CMO, who's been running an agency. I think this was a lovely conversation. I really thank you, all of you, for participating, and thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Vishal.
Thank you, Vishal.